Hi everyone, John Pokerchip Friedberg here with another episode of Stacking Chips, your strategy source for the 2007 World Series of Poker, the Bellagio Cup, and the dozens of other events going on right here in lovely Las Vegas. So I didn't do too well yesterday in the shootout event, but overall, same story. I went in with the best, came out with the worst, and I got sent to the rail pretty early, which gave me time to go to the pool, relax, and actually had a very nice day. Enjoyed a little bit of time off, and looking forward to today's event. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited about my guest today. He is one of the 4 online players that I called out in the very first episode of Stacking Chips. His name is Tim West. He plays under the online name TMay420, one of the best online players in the world, and also, in my opinion, one of the best live players in the world. He's had a lot of success in the live poker arena as well. So that being said, let's bring him on. Tim, thanks for coming on the show, man. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, John.
So you're one of, the best online players in the world. I rank you in the top 5. I think in Pocket 5s are probably ranked in somewhere in the top 10 or something.
I'm 13th right now, the lucky 13 right now.
No, that's not too good.
Nah.
Oh, whatever. So you've been tearing it up on the tables online for a long time now. Mm-hmm. You've also had a lot of success in live poker. So tell us about your background a little bit.
Well, I started playing home games for $5-10. Actually, my brother went to UC Santa Barbara, and I went down there. He used to play at an Indian casino, the same place that Jeff Madsen started playing poker. And I used to play there. I used to fly down on the weekends while I went to community college. And then I started playing party poker, and I messed around with sit-and-goes and stuff. And then I won a tournament for about $38,000, and that intrigued me into the world of MTTs, of multi-table tournaments. And so I started playing those, and I met the Waco kid on AIM. Actually, we were playing a sit-and-go, and then we started talking on AIM. And then he started telling me about Pocket 5s. And I was like, oh, what's Pocket 5s? And then I'm a real competitive person. So right when I saw Pocket 5s, I thought, oh, man, I want to get to the top as soon as possible.
In the rankings?
Yeah. So I started doing that for, it took me about 4 or 5 months to even get ranked. And then after that, I started skyrocketing through. I think I started on Pocket 5s in about December. And a year later, I played my first live tournament, which I took second officially in. We chopped it 3-handed. I got $88,000 for that.
Wow.
At Commerce Casino in November, and then I went to I came here to Bellagio in December, a month later, and chopped. I took second officially. Can't win ever. I took second officially to David Danishker in 5,000 here for. We chopped it, and I got about $225,000 for that.
So you've had a lot of success in both live and online and live.
Yeah, definitely. It's they're a lot different, but I started what I used to do is I used to play online, but before that I would go to a local card room, because we have those in the San Jose area. In California, we have card rooms where you can play limit hold'em. They don't have no limit in San Jose, but you can play limit hold'em. So I'd go in there and play 3-6 or 6-12 and try and grind up $200, and then take the $200, and then I'd Western Union it to party poker, and then I'd play sit and goes, and that was my daily routine for a couple months.
So you're here for the World Series, obviously. Mm-hmm. How's that going for you so far?
It's decent. I had a cash where I doubled my money, but I've lost probably about 30 or so. I'm probably stuck myself about 20 or 30,000. It's going pretty well. I'm having I'm feeling alive, I guess you can say. I can build chip stacks and get going, but towards the end it kind of it sputters out for me a little bit. And so I don't know. It's just a matter of getting comfortable with your surroundings, and then eventually you can get into a groove and hit something. So I honestly think my time's coming in the next couple weeks here. So.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Well, I mean, it's a long-term game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
With enough tournaments,
exactly.
Eventually the variance is going to go away, and you're gonna do well.
Yeah.
So, how many tournaments do you have left on your schedule here? And are you playing any of the Bellagio tournaments also?
Oh, I'm gonna dabble around in the Bellagio tournaments. I'm not gonna set my sights on playing any of them, because I think it's a little the timing's a little weird for me. It's my first World Series. I want to concentrate on that. I don't want to splice in some Bellagio tournaments, but I'll probably play maybe 1 or 2 Bellagio events. I'm sure that there's going to be some soft action. There's going to be days where there's like a Raz tournament or like a stud high low tournament, and not too many people play those. A lot of the big pros play them, but that's good because they won't be in the tournament, and all the people with the money will be here at Bellagio. But I'll play probably like maybe like 7 events. I think it's like 7. I think there's like the PLO Championship. I'm going to play that. I'm going to play the 10K here at Bellagio. Then there's I believe there's a 3,000 and a 25 at the World Series and like a 1,000 rebuy. I'll play that. So it's probably about 6 World Series tournaments.
Cool. And let's see what else. So one thing I wanted to ask you about. Well, actually, there's one hand that I want to ask you about, which I'll go ahead and ask you right now. So you and I are both online players, right? Mm-hmm. So we're pretty proficient, I'd say, on a short stack because most of the tournaments start, players with a short stack.
I live in a short stack world.
Yeah, as do I, which is very advantageous, I think, in these live events, especially the World Series.
It can work out for you. I think it's better to go that route than to throw all your money in and try and gamble real fast and get a lot of chips. If you steadily climb. I'm sure that's how you won your bracelet last year, is from steadily climbing.
For the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, I threw my chips all in once or twice.
Exactly.
As a dog. But you got to get lucky to win.
Yeah, exactly.
So actually, that's what I wanted to ask you about. There's one hand that I played yesterday.
Okay.
And it was the second level of the shootout. There were still 8 players at the table. There were 9 players. We started 10 hands, so there were 9 players at the table. And the blinds are 50 and 100.
So shootout is a sit and go.
Basically. Right?
Yeah, okay, so shootout is a sit and go that...
all the winners.
Yeah, exactly. The winners go, and then the winner of that one goes to the next. It's a triple shootout, right?
I think it was a triple.
It was a triple.
Maybe even quadruple. I don't even know how they're doing it this year.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt. That was just...
that's right.
That was clarifying.
So there are 9 players left. The blinds are 50 and 100.
Okay.
I have 1,700.
Okay.
And so I got 17 BBs. There's a guy in late position who just lost a huge pot when someone called his bluff. Okay, so I knew he was steaming, but he still had like 3,000 in chips. And again, 1,500 blinds. I have 1,700. I'm in the big blind. Mm-hmm. It's folded around to him. He's on the button. Okay. He raises to 375. This is the very next hand after he got cracked, right? And he, I knew he was steaming, so he raises to 375. I shove all in for 1,700 with ace 9 off, right? And he's steaming. He calls with a king 10, and ends up making a nut straight on him. So I wanted to ask you. That's sort of. I felt that I had the best hand. Certainly, an ace 9 is not very strong. Even if he does have something like king 10, I'm hardly a favorite over him. But I was obviously more hoping that he wouldn't call.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's a little bit of a kamikaze move because I still had 17 big blinds to work with. But at the same time, I just knew the guy was steaming. Yeah, I knew he didn't have a very premium hand. So I'm just curious to know, what would you have done in that spot?
That's one of those gray area spots. That's the spot. If you can make the right decision in every one of those spots you have, you're going to be the richest man in the world. Those are the toughest. That's the only question I get when people ask me how should you have played this. It's always a gray area decision where it's like, well, I could go this way or I could go that way, and they'd both be pretty okay. But in poker, you have to do that. You have to balance the percentages of which way will work in the long term. So, but I think I probably would have shipped. I probably would have moved all in with the ace 9 as well. I don't think you can't call. You have 1,700 chips. There's no antes, so there's not a lot of money in the middle. But at the same time, the guy just lost a pot. He's raising the button. He does make a big raise, but if he's going to do that with king 10, he's liable to do it with ace 4 suited. You know what I mean? His range is so wide that he'll do it with a weak. If he looks at a king 10 and does it, if he looks at an ace 5 of spades, he's going to think, wow, I got the nuts. If he thinks king 10's good in that spot, he's going to do it with the worst hand. So it's you can't be results based that he had king 10. The fact is that he had a hand that was worse than yours, and then in most spots, in a lot of spots, he's going to wake up with an ace 10. But I think it's probably about 20% he's going to wake up with a hand that's better than you. 20% it's what he had, like King 10 or King Jack, and then the rest you haven't killed or you haven't beat, you know, or like a small pocket pair possibly. But I think a good amount of the time you're going to have his hand in bad shape with an ace and a 9.
Right. I mean, I felt like I had the best hand. Well, I guess one thing I didn't really take into consideration was that he was steaming, and therefore he was more likely to call with a bad hand. I mean, he could have easily done that with the 6-7 of hearts, or any hand, and said, you know what,
exactly,
fuck it, I'm just going to call. I'm going to gamble. I got to get my chips back. In which case, again, I'm not a big favorite over any hand, except for like an ace,
and like an ace rag, or like what if he has 8-9 suited or something like that. You're a big favorite over that. But when I run into that spot, people tend to go, they tend to shy away and fold their hand and go, I could only be this. But I think if I'm ahead almost every time, and then there's a good chance that I'm in great shape, I'm always doing it. Always. If there's a chance, if there's like half the chance that I'm ahead, and then I could still be in great shape, but there's not always a chance of me being ahead. So
we have so many emails and calls coming into this show. It's unbelievable. Our phones are ringing off the hook with all the questions coming in. Keep those coming. And anyway, so let's keep talking through this.
No, but honestly, yeah. So like if I have the ace 9 in that spot, if it's a guy where I think half the time he's going to be shoving, like a pair, or like he could have an ace jack or an ace king, I goof that up. I have something thought in my head. Well, what I said was like, in that spot against him, I think against a player like that, you're going to have him every time, but about maybe 15 or 20% of the time, your hand is going to be ahead, which is what I look for a lot. A lot of people don't look to be ahead; they always look to be ahead and in great position. If I have a chance to be fully ahead and have a decent chance of being in great position, like I said, I'll always go for it. And then there's the other guy who will go, I'll wait for my better spot. It depends on what kind of player you are. You like to gamble to win. I like to gamble to win. I think that's the proper strategy when you play poker. You don't want to gamble too much, but selective gambling is necessary to win in this game. If you're gonna, wait to be in the best spot, if you're gonna not wait for pocket aces, but constantly wait to, have a big pair against a little pair, or a big ace against a little ace, you're not going to run into those spots enough to keep yourself afloat where you don't get blinded out of a tournament.
Right. Awesome. So I'm glad to hear that you would have done the same
thing. Definitely.
Validation by teammate. By the way, in my very first episode of this show, I called out 4 online players to crush the World Series. Pearl Jam, John Turner, Pearl Jam, Sorrel, Imperium. Who was the third one? I mean, you. Oh yeah, and the Waco Kid. You and the Waco Kid. So a little bit of the World Series. Well, we're not even halfway done yet, so I'm still counting on you to come through. It feels like a lot of it's
gone, but there's still so much left. It's unbelievable.
I feel like it's only been going on for a week, but we're on like event 630 or something.
Yeah, exactly.
They're running so many events.
Yeah, seriously.
So one other thing I wanted to talk to you about is a very common thing in tournament poker, even amongst some of the biggest name pros, and that's backing. You and I both stake players in tournaments. I also have investors for my own tournaments, so I get investors for my tournaments, and I invest my money in other players just to sort of diversify my investments, so to speak. So let's talk a little bit about staking players. Have you had much success in that?
I've had a little bit of success, not as much as some of the the glorified players like Eric Lindgren and players like those that have big huge lists of people that win them all sorts of money. But I've done a pretty good job with a few friends that I play online with. They were in bad spot. And it was kind of like me helping them out, but at the same time, I knew in the back of my head that there was a great chance that they could help me out in the long run. So I like to put. It's kind of like a gamble for me, just to have more money in the field. So if I bust, I feel like I have all these different pieces out there that can make me money. I kind of consider it like table gambling almost. Except you have a little bit of an edge because you know what you're dealing with and you know who you're dealing with. Because if you put let's face it, it's tournament poker. You're going to put somebody in. They're not going to do well. They're not going to cash a majority of the time. But that's just because it's tournament poker. You're not going to. But if you have the right player who will win and do really well enough of the time when he gets his time to shine. Because there's a lot of players, they get their time to shine, they get, they finish in the teens and the 20s, and it's just brutal. It's like staking's not going to work out for you if you never have a win. I don't
right.
know.
Well, I mean, ultimately, with makeup on the deals, the player has to be a break-even player, obviously.
Yeah.
For
exactly.
the backer to get his or her money back. But the player is not going to make anything.
No.
I mean, which is the same situation if he were using his own money. But I agree, like, the player has to be able to be a closer. And, I think a few sporadic wins is way better than, many finishes in the teens and 20s.
It's much better because, you can do a lot with staying afloat, but you want to get yourself so far ahead that you can stay afloat for even longer without having to worry. Because, I mean, let's face it, in the poker world, money is a crucial thing. You can run out of money, and then you have to go find a backer. That's what happens a lot. Like, my guess is about 30 to 40%, maybe even more, maybe like 45% of the people in these tournaments are completely backed or fully backed. So, I mean, there's a lot of pieces sold out, but people that just have no money and play for life, to live, and for the fun of poker, because it takes over your life. Poker, it's a double-edged sword. You love it, but at the same time, it consumes you.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. I lost it. I lose it so much. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's funny how so many of the biggest names in poker are broke.
Exactly.
And they play on other players' money. And, they
big
pawn
TV
their bracelets.
people,
yeah, big TV people.
People you would never think, like the last person you would think. You're like, what? That guy has to borrow money to live and until he hits his next score. So it's kind of like a cycle. Like staking will work out for you. It's like I said, I relate it to table games. So if I'm like shooting dice and I'm doing really well, I'm not going to do really well for that long. Eventually it's going to die down, and there's going to be some variance. If you're staking people, it's kind of like an up and down thing. It can never be like straight. It can never be like always winning. It's going to be a roller coaster ride almost every time you stake somebody, unless you stake somebody who the ultimate pro, who never tilts, always grinds out, makes perfect decisions, never gives up, like we were talking about, never just throws his money in so he can have a stack. But it's tough to find those players. I mean, and when you're staked, you have a different mindset. You play, even though you don't want to admit it, you play differently. There's just something about it. But if you're selling pieces, I think when you're staked, you want to make your backer money and you want to make yourself money. When you're selling, when you have pieces sold, you want to make yourself money, but you're not so concentrated on making your backer money. So, like, if I have a piece of my buddy and I'm not backing him, I think he's like rooting to make me money more than he would be if I had half of him and I was staking him in a tournament. I don't know. That might be a little off subject, but
I totally agree. And I never sell all of myself. I sell pieces of myself, and I like to have my own money in there also, because I play better, and it sort of gives me the assurance that my investors know that I'm in there for myself and playing how I would, because I do have money at stake, and I think that's important.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's sometimes I wonder that if when somebody busts a tournament, the way they tell me, I'm like, isn't there something you could do? That's just a backer's second nature to be like, what could you have done? Could you have folded? Could you have done this? How'd you get so short? You're not telling me about some hands, but I mean, I guess you're going to try your best, but there's always something in your head that's, I don't know, that has you thinking, I don't have anything invested. But then again, it'll also give, like, I have somebody who I think takes better, he doesn't take stupid gambles, but he'll take a couple gambles here and there to try and build huge chips because he knows he's backed. But at the same time, if he wins those pots, he's selective with those pots. I mean, you probably know what I'm talking about. He's selective with those pots, and he goes after them. And when he wins them, he gets really deep in tournaments, and he can win me, hundreds of thousands. But then there's the other side of the coin where he loses that, and then I just have to put my head down and walk around for the whole day. So I don't know, backing's a weird subject. It's interesting. It has pitfalls as well as it does highs. There's highs and lows, but I think it's more about if you're a gambling person, if you like action. If you like action, you like to have your money spread out, and you like to have a lot of different things going on.
Agree 100%. Mm-hmm. Well, Tim, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
John, appreciate it.
Best of luck today, and in one sense, I hope you and I end up heads up
for sure
at one of these events. In the other sense, I definitely don't want to end up heads up with you. All right, everyone, that's it for today's episode of Stacking Chips. Make sure to tune in tomorrow and every day throughout the World Series for more strategy talk, discussions, interviews, and more right here on Card Player TV. And make sure to keep sending those emails in at stackingchips@cardplayer.com. From John, Poker Chip Friedberg.
I'm Tim, Team A420 West.
That's it for today. Good luck, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.